Today, we're going to take a look at Candice Owens and conspiracy theories, which in recent times kind of go together a bit like a hand in a glove. Or perhaps it's like peanut butter and jelly. Although we are from New Zealand, so maybe it's more like fish and chips. But either way, if you digest too many conspiracy theories, unlike fish and chips, it's going to do a bit more than just slightly expand your waistband. And they can actually be very dangerous and very harmful to very real people. So we're going to discuss conspiracy theories in general today, how we should interact with them. And it's unfortunate I even need to say this, but we're also going to interact with some of the allegations that have been thrown towards Erica Kirk and her alleged involvement in the assassination of her own husband, Charlie Kirk. So, as people that care about truth, it's important that we look at these conspiracies. So, let's dig into it. All right, let's begin with the new investigative series that Candice Owens is producing called The Bride of Charlie. Episode 1 is unfortunately just released. Now, it is actually a reference, I believe, to the 90s horror film, The Bride of Chucky. Now, you might be thinking that's a bit of a rough comparison for Candice to make, to compare a grieving widow with a demon-possessed serial killer doll. And unfortunately, it is very twisted, but Candice Owens doesn't really seem to have any bar too low. No standard that she isn't willing to compromise to drag Erica Kirk's name through the mud as she's grieving her late husband, Charlie Kirk. Now I'm going to play that trailer for you now for this investigative series, and we'll see what you think.
President Trump says that Kirk has died after he was shot from a nearby building.
After being shot at Utah Valley University.
The great and even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead.
The cries of this widow will echo around the world like a battle cry.
I didn't even get to give him a kiss goodbye.
That young man, I forgive him.
Take your time.
Erica Kirk has been named the new CEO of Turning Point USA.
My husband's dead. I'm not trying to be morbid, but he's dead.
It's weird to say excited.
Describes her husband's funeral as the event of the century. Merch, hats.
We have 50,000 plus hat orders.
Nobody knows why she's out there in a glittering pantsuit in a recreated tent that her husband tragically was murdered in, throwing merch out.
Everyone grieves differently, so if someone's acting weird, don't read into that.
Zionists, the Prime Minister of Israel, all lied through their teeth about Charlie Kirk.
Her operation was in Constanta, the epicenter of Romania's trafficking scandal.
Weird conversations to have with a 15-year-old. I'm gonna touch your butt.
$8.6 million to their own shell company.
What is going on?
We have nothing to hide.
My aunt used to tell me, never do something that you don't want on the front page of a newspaper.
I could only imagine, but the death of your spouse would be one of the most painful things that the human heart could ever experience. And on top of that, the way in which she lost Charlie in front of the whole world as he was simply trying to have conversations with people about things that matter. And now she's at home with 2 young children who don't have their father, and she's dealing with all that pain and all that trauma. And what does the Lord have to say toward people like Erica who are in that type of pain and that type of vulnerability? Psalms 68:5 says this: "A father to the fatherless, a defender of widows is God in his holy dwelling." And we see something similar in Isaiah 1:17. It says, "Learn to do right, seek justice, defend the oppressed, take up the cause of the fatherless, plead the case of the widow." And so we should be quick to offer prayer and compassion and support to Erica. But instead, what has Candice been quick to offer? She's been quick to offer the world lies. She's been quick to offer the world all types of conspiracies, the world's worst detective novel, trying to implicate Erica in the death of her own husband, connecting together all these dots that don't exist, the most bizarre and irrelevant details about Erica and Erica's family. Now, on the list of evil things that you can do to a grieving widow, making huge amounts of money, implicating that widow in the death of her own husband, that is right up there. And that is why I want to share this verse with you as well. From Exodus 22, it says, "Do not take advantage of the widow or the fatherless. If they do, and they cry out to me, I will certainly hear their cry." God cares about the widow. He cares when they are oppressed. He cares when baseless slander and accusations are thrown towards people that are vulnerable. And in this case, no doubt the pain that is caused by these baseless, slanderous accusations is causing grief on top of grief for Erica. And so I want to talk to you if you're involved in sharing this gossip. God cares about the cry of the widow. He is a God of justice. He says that you will give an account for every idle word that you have spoken on Judgment Day. Every careless word. Bearing false witness is a sin. It's the 9th commandment. God takes it seriously. If this false witness is against a widow, even more so. And so if you're thinking, well, she wasn't crying enough, or she was crying too much, or she was wearing the wrong clothes, or perhaps she was grieving in a way that was a bit strange to you, none of that justifies slander, and no actual evidence, no evidence that could be presented before a judge that it wouldn't just roll their eyes at has actually been presented to the world with Erica being involved in any type of criminal activity. Now, we could spend the next hour going through the investigative series that Candice Owens has put together, but to be honest, I don't want to waste your time. I've spent an hour of my life on it, and I don't want you to waste yours. However, there's nothing to see. It's just baseless claims. It's irrelevant accusations towards Erica and primarily Erica's family for some reason. There was some shade thrown towards Erica for her childhood about which parent was home at what time, and it was unclear whether Erica had actually lied about that or not. But regardless of that, it had nothing to do with Erica being involved in any crime, let alone the assassination of her own husband. And so we're not going to spend any more time on that, but what we are going to spend some time on is conspiracy theories as a whole, how they happen, why they happen, and why they seem to be so commonly shared and defended within the church among people that should care about truth more than anybody else. Now, I'm not saying that no conspiracy theories are true. Of course, some conspiracy theories have been proven true through objective evidence and empirical data. For example, the Epstein files, that at some point was just a conspiracy. Now they are available to the public, and the whole world can see this satanic, evil behavior that was going on. That at one point was simply a conspiracy theory. And how about these guys? Conspiracy theories were going around that there was a huge mob of Italian gangsters running a massive underground crime syndicate. Turns out that was absolutely true when the FBI blew that case wide open. So what I'm not saying is that all conspiracy theories are false. What I am saying, they have to be proven true with empirical evidence, with solid data. So if you are a Christian and you are sharing conspiracy theories, I plead with you, hold your standard of proof high. Don't just allow anything to convince you and to pass it on as true, especially when we can turn victims into villains. Because if we aren't careful with what we push forward as true, we can become like this man. And his name, as many of you know, is Alex Jones, which unfortunately he is guilty of in the past exactly what Candice is doing now. And that is, as I say, turning victims into villains. Now, back in 2012, there was the Sandy Hook shooting where 26 people were murdered, 20 of them being children. Now, Alex Jones decided to spread a conspiracy around this time that this event didn't really happen. It was all fake. It was all staged. And there was just crisis actors, the parents, the grieving parents of these 20 children that were shot down in their school. Well, they were all just actors. And so now these parents had to deal with the grief of losing their children and the public abusing them for faking this whole thing. And that was because of the lies that Alex Jones spread, turning the victims into villains, same as Candice Owens in this situation with Erica Kirk and the death of her husband. And so this is something we should take very seriously. But how does this happen? How do they spread? It's one thing for people to come up with them, but why do they get shared? And why do they so often get shared amongst Christians that should care about truth more than anybody else? Now, this is a pattern throughout human history. When something dramatic happens, when something catastrophic, when something shocking, something traumatic happens to society, to humans, we come up with these conspiracy theories. We've spoken about some of them already, but there's obviously some other examples. 9/11, a worldwide pandemic, a school shooting, a significant person being assassinated. These are all things that cause a tendency for us to feel like we're out of control. Something is out of our control, and to get back in control, we come up with these conspiracy theories. It brings a level of safety to us. And my first concern is why? Why are Christians so quick to jump on these vague inferences to help us feel like we're back in control? It just makes us look afraid. And if you are a genuine follower of Jesus with the Spirit of God living in you, I have some good news for you. Your life is not yours. Christ has conquered death, and he's not going to die again. And so him conquering death on our behalf should fill us with confidence. It should take away fear. It's actually God's most consistent command to us in the scriptures. Fear not. It's kind of his thing. Our fear is offensive to God. It reminds me of how I would feel if one day perhaps I was picking up my nephew from school and he came up and told me that there's a bully, there's someone that is causing him pain and fear. And he was terrified of this bully. And he came up to me and he said, Uncle Samuel, can you protect me from this bully? And then this 3-foot tall 5-year-old kid walks towards my nephew. And then my nephew is still just as scared of this bully standing right next to me than if I wasn't there at all. How do you think that would make me feel? I'd probably feel like, man, my nephew doesn't really understand my ability to protect him from this situation. There's no real threat here with me standing with my nephew. And that is what it must feel like for the Lord, for God who is completely sovereign, fully capable of doing all things, not limited in power, completely in control of the world. And we're saying to him, man, we are fearful of all these things that we cannot control. And so we need to come up with lies to help us feel safe. And this is not something that the children of God, the church, should be known for. And so before you dive headfirst into conspiracies, before you make yourself look gullible and afraid, I just want to remind you, God is sovereign. Do not forget the sovereignty of God. God is not surprised by the evil all over the world, and neither should we. We do not need baseless conspiracy theories to try to expose the evil of this world. We have the word of God for that. And so if you are a Christian and you are deeply entrenched in these theories and there is no amount of evidence that can pull you out of these beliefs, and there's no lack of evidence that will stop you from falling into the next one, I just want to plead with you, please be more passionate about spreading and preaching and defending the gospel than you are about defending your conspiracy theories. And I just hope that you haven't so destroyed your credibility with the world that they still want to hear from you when you want to tell them about Jesus. And this is my biggest frustration with Christians who are pulled into this world of gossip, is that we should care about the truth more than anybody else, because the truth has set us free. The truth has come into this world and turned the world upside down 2,000 years ago with a mountain of evidence, more than any other event in the ancient world, and the 2,000-year track record of changing people's lives. That is the truth that has changed everything. And that truth has given us a commission to go around the world and spread the good news. And if we have been too busy spreading lies, if we have been spreading baseless slander, then we may have lost all our credibility while trying to spread bad news that no one wants to hear from us about the good news anymore. But the good news is still true, and that is that Jesus is coming back despite all the evil in the world. He is coming back to enact justice and to save all those who have been covered by his blood. And unlike a conspiracy theory, that gospel, that truth, is a very solid foundation.